Hey everyone, it's Trayson again, and today's episode is going to be about the linkage and leverage of the Latin American country Nicaragua. It all started in Nicaragua's 2006 election, where President Enrique Bolanos was defeated by former leader and famed Sandinista Daniel Ortega. Ortega was elected as president in 1984 and served for 6 years until his defeat by Violeta Chamorro in 1990. I prepared a Fab 5 list of the country's most important politically influenced relationships, also known as linkage and leverage in political science. Number 1 is the world's largest country by land, Russia. Nicaragua has been consistently allied with Russia since the 1940s. Both countries wanted to rescue their people through communism, but both eventually fell down the hole of authoritarianism. The two countries have not only demonstrated a sense of allegiance to each other through trade and political aid, but they have developed similar enemies throughout the years. Recently, after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, Nicaragua defended their ally by rejecting a ceasefire and calling a number of Ukrainian leaders fascists and Nazis. They also have accused the United States and NATO of planning a third world war in which Russia would be wiped off the map, which is not true. The next country is North Korea. The two countries have been allies since the late 1970s, which is when Ortega rose to prominence as a Sandinista revolutionary, with only a brief cutting of ties that started and ended when Ortega was no longer in power. That would be from 1990 to 2007. The countries provided aid to each other and supported each other against other nations. Nicaragua even boycotted the Seoul Olympics in 1988 in solidarity with their ally. Number 3 is one of North Korea's closest allies, China. The beginning of their allyship can be traced to 1980s, but ended due to Nicaragua's recognition of Taiwan as an independent nation in the 90s. Their relationship has been restored within the last few years from 2021 to 2023, and Nicaragua has gone as far as cutting ties with Taiwan in solidarity with the Eastern superpower. Number 4 is Iran. The two countries share a common enemy, the United States. Their relationship is one of those that fall under the saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Both countries want to stop the United States from democratizing Latin America. And that's where their commonalities kind of stop. Lastly, at number 5 is Mexico, the United States border country. Though close allies since 1979, in 2021, their relationship was strained when Mexican president allowed Nicaraguans to seek political refuge in Mexico. There are at least 50,000 refugees who have went from Nicaragua to Mexico, and that upset Daniel Ortega, which caused him to close down. He closed down something in Mexico that would not allow Nicaraguans to get over the border. All of these countries have strong parties in power, yet they continue to say that they are democratic or free, even though they are not. Many of them have had elections where they've won more than half of the vote, which is not particularly normal. Like Russia's most recent election, Putin won 80-something% of the vote, which is basically impossible in a free and fair election. So by allying themselves with those people, they've definitely fallen down in CPI and HDI, especially when compared to the CPI and HDI they had in 2006 before Ortega was back in power. I think this all shows that the personal interests of Ortega are more important than the country's economic interests, especially since Ortega began as a left-leaning or extremely left-leaning communist revolutionary who has basically turned into a fascist dictator whose wife is the vice president, which seems unethical on all counts. I just think it's really interesting that they're able to continue calling themselves communists and say that they're about freedom and freedom of speech when they're actively at war with the Catholic Church within Nicaraguan borders. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.